My name is Alan Hayton, and reminder to silence your cell phones. But I grew up in Arctic Village. My Athabascan name is Giton, and I was given that name by Grandma Dorothy Pitka. She was sibling to my grandfather, Robert Albert, who was from Kaikook and Tanana, and he was working on a riverboat, and they pulled up in Fort Yukon, and he saw my grandmother, and they got married not too long after that. But, yeah, I'm very happy to be here. This is my first time in Nulato, and very happy also to be sharing the words of Mary TallMountain and her story, and we hope you enjoy. We'll see.
Hey everyone, my name is Christy Malamute. I am the daughter of the late Edith and Victor Nicholas. My maternal grandparents are the late Rita Ismailka and Tony and Patsy. And my paternal grandparents are the late Mary Etta Niglaska and Nick Nicholas. I do not know Mary TallMountain or Mary TallMountain. But I have heard of her poems prior, and I'm just excited to be here, a part of this.
Hi, I'm TallMountain, originally from Nulato. And as you know, for a long time, I was a really good Athabascan Indian. I never stayed in one place for too long. I lived in Anchorage, Fairbanks, Galena, Kotzebue, Seattle. But I moved back home in 2010. I was here for 10 years, then I moved to Fairbanks in 21. I had the privilege of meeting Mary TallMountain when I was a kid in 1976 when she came to Nulato, and then again in 1982 when she was traveling through. So I was always amazed with her poetry. I read Indian Blood when I was in high school in Upward Bound program. And I was so amazed with that. It almost made me cry. So, yeah, she was really powerful in my eyes. So, I'm glad that I was asked to do this because this is really important. And it's really important that it's brought to Nulato. And I'm so glad you all came to listen to this. It's going to be something else.
Hi, I'm Maureen McGinty. I always say I'm from Nulato because I'm never saying that when I'm in Nulato. I was born in Nenana, but I was raised in Huslia, Caltech, and primarily Nulato. This is where my roots are, and I live in Fairbanks now with my family. My parents are Maurice and Josephine McGinty. 20 years ago, I said a speech and I said my parents are Josephine Mountain. And so it's kind of funny that I'm sitting next to Paul. I was so nervous. But my parents are Maurice and Josephine McGinty. And my grandparents are the late Anita and Leo Demoski Jr., Trisha Pada. And I'm so happy to be here to bring this project here. I'm happy I got looped in when I did. And the work behind it, oh my goodness. It's been a lot of work and quite a long time. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that you all came on a Sunday.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathleen Hildebrand Meckel. I'm the daughter of the late Edith Nicholas and Barney Hildebrand. And I was in high school when Mrs. Simpson brought in all the poetry and doing all of this with all the Mary TallMountain poems, so I'm really excited for that. And I've been involved with this project since last year. Kind of when you retire, you get like volunteer for a lot of stuff, so continuously volunteering. And it's been a real, and kind of like revises it at each time, so it kind of becomes different. And some parts were like originally I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so sad, and I'd just be sobbing. I'm like, get it together. So it's been a ride. And I'm reading the part of Mary TallMountain, speaking from her journals, from her poetry. So it's really an honor to do this here in Nulato, her home. Thank you. I was born Mary Demoski in 1918 in the village of Nulato on the Yukon River. My mother, Mary Jo Demoski, was Lower Koyukon Athabaskan and Russian. And the soldier, Clem Stroop, was my Irish and Scots father. Having sprung from a hugger-mugger meld of ancestors, I find I am unbelievably various and interesting, even to myself.
Who but Mary TallMountain would feel the need to write a birth poem for herself? But that was Mary, always probing her own story.
The light on the tent wall for Mary Jo, my mother. There was light, suffused onto canvas through mother's womb. Her round belly turned the wall pink. There was humming, soft talk about the baby coming. Women, mothers, warm by the Yukon stove, visiting Mary Jo and her child. I, who lay unborn in her cradle of light. Years came, I was taken. There were no tent walls where I had to dream my own. And as time passed, often I saw the light on the wall, no longer pink. It was fire, its tongues licking the tent wall. Fire of our life flickering. Light returned where I was, moving through far places. Years, not suffused now. Gone the voices singing. Useless wind plucked with chill fingers at the wall. Often the sound was angry, hasty, wanted to speak, but could not find words. I overtook it, brought it back, my dream. Light dyed the canvas the color of mother's blood, gliding through her womb, through labored lungs, through death, and I remembered the color of her blood, light on the tent wall, painted by my infant dreams. Sometimes I still hear angry winds plucking mutely off the wall. The light is there too, and thinking of the watching women, I wonder whether they saw the light on the tent wall. I saw it plain before my birth and held it a half century. I will hold it forever.
The first 6 years of Mary's life revolved around the old nomadic ways of her people. Spring camp for ducks, summer camp for fish, fall camp for moose and caribou, winter for trapping.
My little brother Billy and I were free and happy. In winter, we rode behind Uncle's curly-tailed dogs. In summer, we played outside like wild creatures. Around us was the infinite, various land.
Ski kayak, spring camp. In the month of Beaver, I watched the night sky, thinking this was the time of year we made spring camp. Memories stretch and pull around me, bark drying on a new canoe. Hunters sprawl by the fire, out camp red bubbles in grease, duck soup gurgles. In the old black Dutch oven, way off, drifting through birches, fat smells drown our mouths. Mom calls, Annette! Yelling, we race to camp. tumbling brown bear cubs. Uncle and Papa grumble at us in gruff voices I have heard for a lifetime. Listen, my brothers are singing. Bernie squeaks a high note, makes Billy start giggling. They wrestle a while. After supper, they make caribou song, honking on a tin harmonica. Echoing cloud voices call over Nulato, over Caillou, high over Denali, over Chugach, over miles of islands, years of dancing, mourning, loving, dying. Crow feathers, shadows crawl along thin blue edges of darkness. Great horned owl sails low. Winter gray wings fan the river. Her yellow eyes blazing, threaten Yiga, bad luck spirits. We yawn into our beds, inside a ring of sleeping dogs. Papa says they keep away wolves. We snug down furry, Billy and I wrapped in dark music of spruce trees. Breath of life flows through our spirits. From forest flames, owl's wings, our breath is one under the shining of Daft All, the moon, walking through the sky.
Those carefree childhood days ended abruptly for Mary in 1924. Let's listen as the Nulato Village Council wrestles with a difficult decision. What are we going to do about Mary Jo Demoski's kids?
How old are they now?
Girl 6, boy maybe 4.
Are we sure Mary Jo's got the TB?
I see two pails of bloody rags outside her door every morning.
I hear her cough way down at my place.
What about the father?
Gone. Transferred to Fort Gibbons. Good riddance, I say.
Dr. Randall and his missus adopted them kids when Mary Jo first got sick. Let the Randalls take them now for good.
Didn't you hear? Doc Randall got himself transferred stateside. If Randalls go outside, Demoski kids go with them.
Nulato people don't adopt out our kids.
We need them kids here so we can teach them how to hunt and fish.
Kids who go outside don't come back.
If kids go, who's going to feed us when we get old?
Kids should stay. They got blood relatives here who can take them in.
Maybe them Demoski kids got TB already. I say send them off with the doc and Ms. Randall before we all catch it.
The debate went back and forth like that all night. Mary Jo's father delivered the council's verdict to his daughter the next morning.
Girl goes outside with the white doctor. Mary Jo keeps Billy. Later, he'll hunt and fish with his uncle.
And that was that. Mary, the girl, was expendable. Billy, the boy, who could someday provide, got to stay in his mother's arms. A few days later, Mary was standing on the upper deck of a steamboat, looking down on everyone in the whole village staring up at her. Mary willed her own mother to step out of the crowd and yell, "I will not let my Mary go." Then Auntie would shout out, "We can take her. We got room." Then everyone would start talking at once. But no one stepped out of the crowd. No one spoke. Even the dogs were silent. A flood of feelings a 6-year-old had no names for washed over Mary. She would spend the rest of her life untangling those feelings, separating them out and giving them names. The silence was finally broken when Billy started to cry. Mary was incensed. How dare he cry? He could stay in their mother's arms. She was the one being sent away. Agnes Randall tried to put her arms around Mary, but Mary pushed her away. Agnes's coat was stiff. Mary only wanted to bury her head in her own mother's soft skin shirt.
I heard the hoarse cry of the steamboat's whistle, the shouts of men guiding the Teddy T into the current. The familiar faces on the riverbank kept growing smaller and smaller, until even the huddled cabins with their chalk-white antlers faded into the distance. When all of it was gone, I knew my life would never be the same. I would never get over that day, no matter how long I lived.
Brother Wolverine. Girl child, they took you so far away. Upriver, I hear mailboat whistle. My heart jumps, waiting for words from you. Snuff, little daughter, I miss you. When the children shout down by the slough, and when I see leaves of quiche, the birches dance in the white wind. In pictures you send, you wear the fawn skin parka I sewed with little sinew stitches. By the light of our coal oil lamp, around your face I see the gray ruff of Wolverine. He has Yiga of power, whose ruff can stop the winter winds from freezing your breath. Into needles of ice I give you his fur. Wolverine we call Doyon, the chief, snarled in my trap, bared his teeth, bit the air. It was his last battle. He came home with me. Brother Wolverine, let your fur warm my girl child. Guard her in the far, strange places. Make her fearless like you. Do not let her forget us, Brother Wolverine.
When there was nothing left to watch but the endless river, Mary asked everyone on the boat the same question.
How can my mother not be my mother anymore?
But no one had an answer she could understand.
Violent revolt ensued when I was taken from my beloved Nulato and from my mother and my brother. The adoptive parents brought me to Portland, Oregon, where they put me in school. One day, they had a pageant at this school. I had to get up on the stage wearing my fawn-skin parka. My face gets hot even thinking of it now.
Indian blood. On the stage, I stumbled, my fur boot caught on a slivered board. Rustle of stealthy giggles. Mindaga, made of velvet, crusted with crystal beads, hung from brilliant tassels of wool, wet with my sweat. Children's faces stared. I felt their flowing force. Did I crouch like Gup, the rabbit, in the curious quiet? They butted to the stage, darting questions, pointing. Do you live in an igloo? Ha! You eat blubber. Hemmed in by ringlets of brass, grass-pale eyes, the fur of the Hoo-da-ak, my caribou parka trembled. Late in the night, I bit my hand until it was pierced with moons of dark Indian blood.
I refused to go to school because my classmates mocked my Indianness. I hid away in closets and I bit my hands in mute rage. My only friend was a little girl my own age named Lucy Evans. Agnes said she was imaginary. But how could she know all about Nulato unless she was a real girl who used to live there? She kept me company in the closet. We talked about everything. Later, when I turned to writing, I made her an important character in my novel. Besides Lucy Evans, letters from Billy and Mary Jo were my only consolation.
2 years after Mary left Nulato, Mary Jo, her birth mother, died.
The hands of Mary Jo. Her hands lift and tend King Salmon. Cherish the skin of her child. Light as willow buds, threaded needles, invisible eye, in dim flickering lamplight. Fingers weave patterns in violet and amber beads. The brown pearl hands etched with tiny lines, curled into little cups, stiffened with yet delicate touch, draw a comb of tortoise shell through dark silvered hair. Hands that float in rhythms, smooth as river drift, attuned to daily music of her hidden life, now lie folded in her lap, trembling minutely the hands of Mary Jo await their approach in silence.
Billy went to Auntie's after Mother died, but we kept writing to each other. Auntie had a big family. When hunting was poor, their lives were hard. Some days Billy and Uncle trapped only with bread and tea to keep them going.
Mary's brother Billy died of consumption when he was 17.
Prayer wheel for William. You worked alongside men, riding the fish wheel down the trickster tides of summer. Your boy hands hurrying, hurrying. Baskets tossing, splashing salmon onto the birchwood raft. Your cut-up windburned hands that love the violin, smelling of fish and wood smoke. Tall and awkward Indian boy, arms too long, hair always falling into your blackberry eyes. Drifting with the river, turning with the fish wheel, my prayers of you are turning.
Mary was overjoyed when the doctor was reassigned to Alaska. Maybe she didn't realize that Unalaska was on a chain of islands in the wild North Pacific, worlds away from Nulato on the banks of the mostly peaceful Yukon River.
This is my story, let me tell it. The beautiful country of Unalaska lured me into a deep sense of the earth, its touch, its smell, its spirit. The treeless volcanic islands were ringed by jutting mountains. Hidden meadows in the backcountry were lush with wild orchids, iris, violets. I still feel the crush of the lost bed of wild violets in the Aleutian Hills, where one day I flung myself down in a rapture, finally knowing who I was.
Wild violets. Returning in slow wandering that day, we found in the shadow of a tall crag nests of wild violets, scentless and fresh. Impetuously, I threw myself down in the mass and buried my face in the thick green leaves. Now I remember it and think, no one in the world ever kissed those same violets. There are violets there now, and a tall rocky crag, but in all eternity, there was only that day, those violets, that child, exactly that way, once, forever, and unique.
Agnes and Harry Randall had no use for the school system in Unalaska, so Agnes became Mary's teacher.
My education lasted 12 hours a day. At Agnes's urging, I wrote regularly in a diary, a habit I continued for the rest of my life. There was a lyric excellence in Agnes that nurtured my early fascination with poems and stories. I grew up with Shelley, Wordsworth, Keats, Dickens, Trollope, the Bronte sisters. A piercing memory returns. One night in Unalaska, Agnes and I walked a narrow pebbled beach reciting poems to each other. I especially love Wordsworth.
The rainbow comes and goes.
And lovely is the rose.
The moon doth with delight.
Look round her when the heavens are bright.
Waters on a starry night.
Are beautiful and fair. Oh, that night, Agnes and I watched the moon swimming in a sea of stars, never suspecting how swiftly our respite from reality would pass. For at that early age, my life was dreadfully harmed. Betrayal by a trusted friend nearly destroyed my spirit, and I arrived too soon at the edge of a turbulent maturity.
I arrived too soon at the edge of a turbulent maturity. Wordsworth himself never wrote words with such bottled up intensity.
The story I'm trying to tell you is too familiar in those times. But in 1930, no child dared to protest. I had just turned 12 when this occurred, and my blossoming creativity was crushed to fragments. Nothing came to me to write or to think beyond the anxiety of my days and nights.
Mary called on her familiars. They came at once. Wolverine, great horned owl, coyote, beaver. Wolf paced outside, ready to leap if she sounded the alarm. The spirits of her ancestors shared their strength.
Matmia, for my grandmother. I see you sitting, implanted by roots, coiled deep from your thighs. Roots flesh red, centuries pale, hair springs wound tight through fertile earthscapes, where each layer feeds the next into depths immutable. Though you must rise, must move large and slow, when it is time, O my gnarled mother vine, ancient as vanished ages, your spirit remains nourished, nourishing me. I see your figure wrapped in skins, curved into a mound of earth, holding your rich, dark roots. Matmia, I see you sitting.
Just as Mary was beginning to feel she could not live without an ocean on all sides, Dr. Randall was transferred to the hospital at Dillingham. And then 2 years later, he was assigned to a clinic for migrant workers in the Willamette Valley of Southern Oregon.
Those were depression years, and times were tough for my adoptive parents, but I didn't notice. I was in high school, and for the first time making real friends. I even joined the Glee Club. Sometimes I could feel my old sense of beauty stirring again. I graduated at 18, ready, I thought, to make my own way in the world. But the doctor got himself tied up in worthless investments. Then he came down with a heart condition and couldn't work. So Agnes and I were forced to become migrant workers ourselves. We had to go out in the fields and pick hops all day. And when we got home, I had to tend to him.
How could you?
What do you mean?
Your trusted friend? Didn't you ever wonder why the good doctor got transferred so often?
What else could I do? His last day on earth, he begged me for a glass of water. I took my time finishing up my work, and I finally brought it to him. He was dead. I felt some guilt for that.
You shouldn't.
How do you know what I should feel? He was the only father I ever knew. I didn't brood about it because around that time the doctor died, Dal Roberts came along. I fell in love for the first time, so nothing else really mattered.
Excerpt from Silver Trumpets for Dal Roberts, 1936. I think about dancing with Dal at McElroy's famous ballroom. Waxy shuffle of our feet where confetti-colored lights wheeled. We were 18. He pretended to be grown up in his tuxedo. The lights turned his eyes indigo. His fingers played all the tunes on my wrist.
We got married.
You documented every breath from the time you could write until you got married. Then not a single word for 9 years? What were you doing all that time?
Dal died 3 years after we got married. I don't remember much about the next 6 years. I'm not proud of that time. Then I met Jack, and unfortunately we got married. It was a disaster from the beginning. My second marriage collapsed in 1945.
What do you mean collapsed?
We both just walked away. Exhaustion, indifference. I don't remember. We were just too wild for each other. I'm sure it was 1945 because that was the year Mother died.
You mean Agnes, your adoptive mother?
She went to the clinic for her regular diabetes checkup, and the fool doctor told her she had Parkinson's and dementia on top of diabetes. Mother was not one to hesitate. She came home from that appointment, loaded her pockets with stones, and walked into the Willamette River. I was off on a fling when I got the call. I don't even remember how I got back to town. All I remember was the intense cold that hit me when I walked into that room.
The morgue.
I wanted to hold Mother, but there was nothing left of her to hold.
Sorry. That must have been rough.
Thank you. It was rough, but it helped me to make up my mind. I had to get away from the Willamette Valley or I'd suffocate. I ended up in Reno, where I learned how to be a legal secretary by apprenticing myself out and working on divorces. Strangely, I never got my own divorce. What did you say my second husband's name was?
I never could find it.
Mr. Nobody, then. That suits him. After Reno, I went to San Francisco, where I worked in law offices. I was working in a conservative, money-oriented world, but my private life was harsh and painful rebellion. Maybe that's why I drank. Into my 40s, I stumbled along, my work suffering. I left jobs without reason, and while on a job, was entirely undependable. Hideous hangovers took hold. Blackouts added to my guilt.
There's nothing left for me. I'm full of misery. I got a right to sing the blues.
Billie Holiday.
She was singing about herself and her people, but she made me cry for myself and my people.
My familiar, just off a bustling sidewalk tonight in Chinatown, she appeared again, wearing a hooded parka of soft gray squirrel fur, looking at me still and straight above the people passing, then was gone. She comes every year, finds me. Once her eyes ebon dark in a weather-brown face gave me assurance before I traveled alone to a remote shadowed region. At home, I often sense her, feel a flash of motion behind my shoulder, see an angle of light where was none before. Her husky voice speaks in the secret bones of my skull. I know only this: she was there when I was born. I know the eyes, the deep, the timeless, the wild eyes.
One day, I went out in a haze for my morning stinger at the Brown Dog Bar, and I suddenly realized everything was darker than usual. Why was traffic so heavy? Why was it all going west? It looked more like 5 p.m. than 9 a.m. Then I knew. It was evening, and I didn't know where the day had gone. Disgusted, I went back to the apartment and took a good look at myself.
Is that when you made up your mind to quit drinking?
Cold turkey. The nights were the worst, but they gave me time to think and to bolster my firm intention to make a substantially useful life.
They say the Tenderloin was the epicenter of music in San Francisco in the 50s. How could you stay cooped up in a tiny apartment with all that blues, jazz, and swing spilling out of the clubs right below you?
I didn't stay in. I went out and I lived in it. There was so much living to do in the Tenderloin in those days.
They say the liquor was flowing as fast as the music. How did you?
Stay sober? The waiters at the Black Hawk Bar were my friends. They would escort me to my special spot up front and bring me a Coke in a fancy glass with a cherry on top. Then I'd just sit there all night nursing my Coke while Lady Day poured her music into my soul. I didn't need to drink.
I'm jealous. You saw Billie Holiday in person.
I saw them all. Count Basie, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, and then there was Ruel. That man poured his whole soul into every note he played on his clarinet,
He was your boyfriend?
and so much more. I needed someone like Ruel. I went off the wagon more than once, and so did he. But we always help each other climb back up. When I asked him why did he put up with me, he'd just say, St. Francis said our work was to love one another. Did you ever hear of the secular order of St. Francis?
Was that his band?
No, they were musicians. They were Catholics.
Priests and nuns?
Nope, just plain lay people. They call themselves. I know all about Catholics because when I went to St. Anne's School in Nulato, nuns were my teachers. They made us read all about the saints, but I never took to them.
To the nuns.
To the saints. Their eyes were always sad and they never smiled. I looked through all the pictures, but I never found anyone who looked like me or anyone else I knew, except St. Francis of Assisi. He was different. He prayed outside where all the birds and the animals could gather around and talk to him in their own languages. He understood them because he knew how to listen. My Koyukon people say, in the old days, people and animals could talk to each other. St. Francis reminded me of my uncles. Koyukon hunters are always listening.
So you joined up with the Franciscans.
Not right away. Most of the musicians in the clubs were just looking for a woman they could mooch off of. But Ruel and his Franciscan tribe were just the opposite. They wanted me to mooch off them. They took care of anybody and everybody. Do you understand what I'm getting at?
I'm trying, Mary.
If the Franciscans could love me, flawed and imperfect as I was, there was no reason I couldn't love myself. That revelation knocked me off my scooter. The next was a magnitude 9 in my life. If I could love myself knowing full well how worthless I was, well then, why couldn't I love everybody else the same way?
So that's when you joined up.
Had to. Once I realized taking care of people was the best way of me to realize my intention to make a substantially useful life.
Do unto others.
Sounds easy, but it's the hardest work I ever did. And I had to be cold stone sober to do it. Slowly but surely after I quit drinking, I came back to myself. I even dared to start my own stenography business, assuming I'd fail, but people hired me, and their friends hired me, and their friends. I had to face it. I was good at what I did and reliable. Working on my own like that gave me a tremendous boost. I joined the secular Franciscans in the late 50s. By 1967, the summer of love, I was in love with everybody.
Watch yourself, Mary. Get more rest. Drink plenty of fluids. Call up your familiars.
You know about the breast cancer then?
I have it in my notes. The surgery, the chemo, the radiation.
I could put up with the pain in my body, but the pain in my heart, when I saw what all of us were doing to each other and to the earth, that pain was too much.
The winter after the summer of love was brutal. Vietnam War was raging, city burning, Zodiac killer on the loose, Dr. Martin Luther King murdered.
Broken needles everywhere.
All that feverish change outside reflected the wars going on inside Mary. That's when she called on her most faithful familiar, and he began to make his way to her.
The last wolf hurried toward me through the ruined city, and I heard his baying echoes down the steep, smashed warrens of Montgomery Street, and past the few ruby-crowned high-rises left standing, their lighted elevators useless. Passing the flicking red and green of traffic signals, baying his way eastward, in the mystery of his wild, loping gait, closer the sounds in the deadly night. Through clutter and rubble of quiet blocks, I heard his voice ascending the hill, and at last his low whine as he came floor by empty floor to the room where I sat, in my narrow bed looking west, waiting. I heard him snuffle at the door, and I watched. He trotted across the floor. He laid his long gray muzzle on the spare white spread, and his eyes burned yellow. His small dotted eyebrows quivered. Yes, I said, I know what they have done.
When I got out of the hospital, I was too sick to work. I lost my business, my house, almost all my money. But luckily, I had Wolf and my other familiars along with my Franciscan brothers and sisters. And I had the strong survival instinct I inherited from my staunch mother.
Song for my mother. Owl spoke gravely of winter. I walked out with you to see whether ptarmigan and snowshoe rabbit had turned white. Sky wore a purple mantle. With you I saw through snow the rough backs of malamutes, your shadow against the silver spike of moon. You slid salmon to the table, raised the fish knife, and your hands honored the holiness of all things. Always do this with care, you said, and the knife traced a flashing crimson stripe along the soft white belly, bearing masked, luscious eggs. I looked into a million faces afterwards, but found none like yours, none anywhere. I stood different, knowing. So I went the alien ways, but held my life with you apart. Gripped tight my soul, waited wrapped in the cloak of your strength.
So you eventually recovered.
Too much good stuff going on in my life not to. Shyly, tentatively, I had begun in the early 60s to make small but real poems. In the mid-60s, the Friars Press began printing them. I was invited to give readings. All kinds of people came. Some of them cried the way I cried when I heard Lady Day sing. Those were the best days of my life. I was sober, cancer-free, grateful, and I had an audience.
What if we changed the title of your story from Coming Home to Changes on the Way Back Home?
I like that. Change was, and still is, the essence of my nomadic people. My ancestors had to move to get food.
Spring camp, ducks.
Summer camp, fish.
Fall camp, moose, caribou. I forget winter.
Winter was for trapping. No wonder I never lived in one place or stayed on one job for more than 2 years. I had to keep moving to keep my spirit alive. I let change slowly alter me so that when the time came, I could slip into a new niche as smoothly as a hand into silk gloves. That's when I realized my vocation and my obligation was to observe and to write of an alienated people I encountered, chiefly Alaska Natives.
For 19 months, from November 20th, 1969 to June 11th, 1971, 89 Native Americans and their allies occupied Alcatraz Island to protest the federal government's numerous infringements of their treaty rights. Mary saw this as an opportunity for Native American voices to speak for the planet.
Voices from Isla de Alcatrazes. Here, where the pelican danced, once known as Alcatrazes, we see the 7 hills cloaked in a dazzle of light. Boatloads of people staring at our sign. You are on Indian land. Laughter blows faint on the wind. Have you seen barn owls caged, shamed, untamed? Just so visitors hooting and cawing mock us. We came to the cage of rock, striving to tell you the ways of earth, our sacred mother. We would cleanse the island of concrete and steel, let the healing grasses creep, let the creatures return. You bulldoze that plan like everything else America, for the sake of your furious fatness. Facing out to sea on a bank where lupines blow, we raised our teepee with Indian hands, lonely symbol of our tears for the people, the things of earth.
You had so many things going on at that time. A new vocation, a new activism, new friends, and a new sense of purpose.
I knew I needed to find a mentor to help me improve my writing skills. Someone who would listen like my old friend Lucy Evans. I found that friend in Paula Gunn Allen, who was teaching Indian studies at San Francisco State University. Every Tuesday, I took a week's worth of writing to her and she read it out loud. Ouch. Then I took it home and rewrote. Sometimes I worked a furious 15 hours a day. She honed my unskilled talent into the great gift of wordsmithing. It was Paula who told me I had to go back to Alaska if I really wanted to understand who I was.
Did she set it up for you?
I'd have to say it was my own charm, talent, and diligence that got me back to Alaska. I kept up a correspondence with people wherever I lived. When it was time, I just put out a call. I need to get back to Alaska. I wish I could remember how it all came together.
My notes say the Alaska Humanities Forum and the Institute of Alaska Native Arts arranged for you to visit villages up and down the Yukon and Kayakuk rivers as a writer in the schools.
I went to quite a few villages over a number of years, all expenses paid, and I got paid on top of that. Little did they know I would have paid them for the privilege.
Mary went back to Alaska in 1976, 52 years after she was taken away from Nulato.
My plane had barely touched down in Fairbanks when I saw an Alaska Native woman waving at me like I was her long-lost cousin. I took to Pauline Carlo right away. We were both from Nulato and both Demoskis, so we were actually cousins. Pauline had her finger in everything going on in Fairbanks. She even called up the mayor and gave him a piece of her mind anytime she thought an Alaska Native wasn't getting a fair shake. Every day, one of her sons would drive her to a different elementary school to teach kids Koyukon. She even found time to write a book about growing up on the Yukon. The two of us had so much in common. We were both just 8 years old when our mothers died of TB. She got sent to the village to live with her grandparents, who spoke only Koyukon. She laughed herself silly at my weird pronunciation of Koyukon words. She laughed, but she made me repeat them until I got every one exactly right. Pauline Carlo helped bring me back to my language.
Mary reminded me of my 2-year-old grandson. He was always pointing at things and making me tell him the names until I'd have to say, enough, Nitsu needs a break.
How do you say mittens in Koyukon?
Mindaga.
Mindaga. How do you say beads?
You.
That's cute and so easy. Yoo-hoo!
Not you. You. You.
You. How do you say hello?
Zanazun.
Zanazun. How do you say how are you?
Dointa.
Dointa. How do you say friend?
Gana.
Gana. How do you say goodbye?
We don't have a word for that. We just say klap, which means see you.
Clap then.
I hope Nulato is ready for Merry TallMountain.
The bush plane hovered, careened, tilted sideways and then down, rattling fiercely. Dizzy, I looked across the pilot's hands and saw Nulato, its roof's couch shining in the long bend of the river. When the two-seater growled and bounced past the whitewashed crosses of Graveyard Hill, everything dimmed before my quick tears. Once I landed, I could see right away things had changed in the 50 years I'd been away. But the women were still trying to keep the old customs.
The women in old parkas, snapping gunshot cold, blue, stubborn lips clapped shut. The women in old parkas loosened snares, intent and slow. They handle muskrat, Yukon wave, appease his spirit, ye got. Bare purple hands, stiffen, must set lines again. Night drops quick, black, in winter house, round shadows, cook fresh meat soup, steam floats, skinny bellies grumble. They pick up skin work, squint, turn lamp wick down, kerosene almost gone, so anyway. Oh, this winter is the worst, everything running out, not much furs, they make soft woman hum. But hey, how about those new parkas we hung up for stick dance? How the people sing, how crazy shadows dip and stomp on dance house walls. The remembering arms rise like bird wings. At morning they look into the sky, laugh at little lines of rain, finger their old parkas. Think, spring is coming soon.
I was nervous meeting my relatives because I'd lost so much of my language. But Pauline helped me out. She told me I was doing fine and I should just enjoy myself. So many fiddle dances, so much food. I had the time of my life.
Can I read the next poem? I've been practicing. Good Grease. The hunters went out with guns at dawn. We had no meat in the village, no food for the tribe and the dogs, no caribou in the caches. All day we waited. At last, as darkness hung at the river, we children saw them far away. Yes, they were carrying caribou. We jumped and shouted. By the fires that night we feasted. The old ones clucked, sucking and smacking, sopping the juices with sourdough bread. The grease would warm us when hungry winter howled. Grease was beautiful, oozing, dripping, running down our chins. We talk of it when we see each other far from home. Remember the marrow, sweet in the bones. We grabbed for them like candy. Good, good, good grease.
When I went up to the school in Caltech, I met the family of my half-brother Bernie. He was the son my mother had after they sent her up there to an old man when she was 14. She ran away from him, but that's another story.
Suha dancing for my brother Bernie. Suha, eldest brother I never knew. The family gave you new clothes in spring. They honored men outstanding in Caltech village at Potlatch. After giveaway, those honored danced alone. Your arms flying, ermine parka whirling, beaver hood like brown velvet. Lynx trimmed mucklucks, first trapped by your friends, the women stitched in winter, dance house drums thumped, people sang 13 Koyukon songs, fiddles thrummed, wooden ocarina whistled, you stomped around the floor. What were your dreams? Did you see new tall traders come, lying, cheating? You told the people to keep peace, overlook greed, bad bargains, insults, but hold strong. Make friends. Did you remember Mother Earth's lessons of the being with no name? How in distant time the people talked with animals in different voices, played among Alaska's bluebells, roses, small spruce trees, mastodon cliffs. You danced bright behind my eyes, Suha, brother. I see you in that spirit-given spring, dancing for the people, arms open like furry wings.
Mary documented every nuance of the river, the weather, and the people in her diary. But she came to Nulato to do more than observe. Mary came to find her mother's grave.
Cassie Sanders made a picnic for me and Auntie at Graveyard Hill. We forged our way around and around through the scratching brush, reading the carved names on the white crosses, visiting people long gone. The old graves were peaceful in the hot sun. I felt the loving, kind presences all around me. We ate Spam and graham crackers high above the river beside the Demoski grave houses. Then we went back to searching. We looked all day until the mosquitoes got the best of us. But we didn't find Mary Jo's grave or Billy's either. Let's go, I finally said. There's no word for goodbye. Sequoia, I said, looking through the net of wrinkles onto wise black pools of her eyes. What do you say in Athabascan when you leave each other? What is the word for goodbye? A shade of feeling rippled the wind-tanned skin. Ah, nothing, she said, watching the river flash. She looked at me close. We just say Kla. That means see you. We never leave each other. When does your mouth say goodbye to your heart? She touched me light as a bluebell. You forget that when you leave us, you were so small then. We don't use that word. We always think you're coming back. But if you don't, we'll see you someplace else. You understand? There's no word for goodbye.
Once she was able to lay her mother to rest, at least in her mind, Mary's nomadic nature kicked in. It was time for her to move on.
So many people, so much talk, so many conflicting stories. My brain is exhausted, cannot write, need aloneness, gotta have these notes together with tremendous difficulty, weariness, disillusion, communication breakdowns. The people look at me with eyes of the past. They watch every move of my hands on the china, the fork, the food. Probably they're saying I'm a white woman.
The suck come, he go, an old Athabascan complaint. We here a long time. We live on salmon, bear, we care for the land. Gisuck come, he go. He freeze self, lose dogs. He burn lungs, lose legs. He waste everything, meat, fish. Gisuck come, he go. Mosquito bite him. He wear wrong clothes. He drink, lose trail. Gisuck come, he go. He don't talk right. Don't know when to sit down, get up. He make too much talk. Gisuck come, he go. He spend too much dinga. He gamble away his house. He lose his wife. Sometime Gisuck go. Maybe he go for good.
Are you talking about yourself here, Mary? Are you saying they saw you as a Gisuck?
Don't put words in my mouth. I know who I am. I'm a marginal person, a misfit, a mutant. Nevertheless, I am from this country, these people. I have used their strengths. I have wrestled to the earth their weaknesses that have echoed in me. My roots are here. I feel them deep in my memories, in the hidden spaces of my blood. Doesn't matter where I live. I'll see the rounded cabins set together. I'll see the hill where my mother lies clean and shining under the roots of the ground.
Mary left Nulato to go back to her tribe of marginal persons, misfits, and mutants in the Tenderloin.
It's true. Many of my neighbors were marginal, but I had lots of friends who lived between the margins. Did you ever hear of Barry Lopez?
Arctic Dreams. My English 211 prof used to say that was the greatest book ever written about the Arctic, a masterpiece.
Barry used to tell me my soup was a masterpiece. I just make it out of whatever I have in my icebox. It's never the same. Ah, he said, that's your secret. It's no secret, I told him. I like my gatherings. They always come out just right. That's because I have famous musicians jamming with street musicians, activists, pacifists, police, A-girls and college girls, Franciscans, poets, and anarchists, up and newcomers, and down and outers, even a few writers like yourself. If you mix different flavors of people together, you're bound to end up with a rich soup.
Mary had all but given up on searching for her biological father when she traveled to Phoenix for a healing retreat. At a break, she picked up a phone book, and like she'd done with so many Phoenix phone books before, she rifled through it to the letter S. And there he was at the top of a page, Clement C. Stroop.
My dad was 85 and in bad shape when I found him. I took him out of the city and brought him to the desert, where I took care of him for 2 years until he died. He said Alaska was the best part of his life.
My wild birds flying. When bayonet cactus thrusts its blossoming cap into desert sky, a white cry announcing winter, I remember my father. Lost in my childhood, Clem, perched forever, a wild bird, fluttering in the cage of my head. I could not set him free. Years of search, I found him, old soldier, spiny as Ocotillo. A few years left for laughter, return to our Alaskan youth. He thought I was Mary Jo, stepping across the years, hair tossed in his scarlet band, dancing to his fiddle. He was frail and ancient, flickered like fireflies of summer. In dreams, he drove the Malamutes through the land with Mary Jo. In a fleece bright dawn, he cried out to her. She came, bent into the light, and took his hand. Now, in the silence of night, they come to me, my wild birds flying.
Before Clem died, he told me Mary Jo visited, and in her last illness, she gave him a message for me.
Tell my girl I always love her. I wanted her to have the best life she could. With me, she would catch TB, and there would be nothing for her here. I had a feeling she would be all right.
I am all right, Mama. Your message helped me to let go of some of my bitterness. I was still holding against you and Clem. It's all gone now. I understand. You both did the best you could.
Will you answer one question for me?
Maybe.
You were Mary Demoski, Mary Randall, Mary Louise Randall, Mary Lois Randall. When did you become Mary TallMountain?
One weekend, I went into a sweat lodge in the desert with some women friends. When I went in, I had all my names. But when I came out, my only name was Mary TallMountain. Maybe my grandmother had something to do with that. Matmia means mountain, you know.
The figure in clay for my grandmother, Matmia, an Athabascan woman, climbing the hill when it was time among sunken grave houses, I filled my fists with earth, and coming down took water, blended it, shaped you, a girl of clay, crouched in my palms, mute asking to be made complete. Long afterward, I buried you deep among painted masks, yet you ride my plasma like a platelet. Eldest kinswoman, you cry to me through smoke of tribal fires. I echoed the primal voice, the drumming blood. Through decades waiting, your small shape remained. In morning ritual, you danced through my brain, clear and familiar, telling of dim glacial time, long perilous water crossings, wolf beasts howling the polar night, snowflowers changing. Now watching you in lamplight, I see scarlet berries ripen, your sunburned fingers plucking them. With hesitant words, with silence, from inmost space, I call you, out of clay. It is time at last, this dawn. Stir, wake, rise, glide gentle between my bones, grasp my heart. Now walk beside me. Feel how these winds move, the way these mornings breathe. Let me see you new in this light. You, wrapped in brown, myself repeated out of the dark and different time.
A birch tree, when stressed, will drop a multitude of seeds to ensure its lineage continues. Mary was dropping poem after poem because she sensed similar stress inside her own body. The cancer she fought 10 years earlier came back, this time in her colon. Messy, painful, surgical intervention, more mess, more pain.
There you go again, making up my story. The cancer was actually a blessing. That, plus my heart attack, made me eligible for a monthly disability pension. It wasn't much, but I didn't need much. My cancer check brought me freedom to minister to my Tenderloin tribe and to write as much as I pleased.
Mary chose to revel in her life at this point.
Revel is definitely not the right word. Too bawdy. Reminds me of my drinking days. Say I was living, writing, doing. Say I was letting my spirit guide me. Say I was having the time of my life.
But the cancer must have been taking over your body by that point.
Leave that out. Everybody has something taking over their body at some point in time, even if it's old age.
Mary continued to do poetry readings, including an interview with Bill Moyers on national television. She feasted with her friends, made several more trips to Alaska, saw her work published in prestigious anthologies. She was an essential part of the blossoming Native American literary renaissance and co-founded the Tenderloin Women's Writers Workshop.
Those sassy women were my colleagues, my friends, my sisters. We took turns reading our work to the group. I wanted to help each and every one of those fearless women the way Paula Gunn Allen helped me. I had so many more things I wanted to do.
When her body could no longer keep up, Mary let her spirit soar until it fused with the spirits of her familiars.
I am all these. I am a beaver lounging on the bank at Nulato River. My ebon claws clutch a round woods cabbage. Dagger teeth rip crisp grain bites. Nut brown eyes watch Indians paddle upriver in a dory. I am the tough spruce paddle. Hardly do I disturb the quiet tide. In the rower's grip, I sidle along the bank. The Indian whispers to his children, Don't bother Beaver when he's eating. I am a fat black mosquito. I buzz around the father's neck. He flicks the lines of sweat, swipes at me, hollers, "Go away." Sun hangs, a bloody flower, scorched willows wait sadly for rain. I am a snowflake. I drift into the dappled green depths of Mother Yukon with 1,000 others. We melt and mingle, dancing the ancient circles. I am all these.
Mary died in her home in Petaluma, California in 1994 of complications from her complications. Her wolf was right there with her.
Wait! I have one more story. It's short, but if I don't make it to the end, you can finish it for me.
But you said you're the only one who can tell your story.
I changed my mind.
Whatever you say, Mary.
My cousin Edna had a potlatch and brought out a skin scraper my mother had used. My grandpa made it exactly to fit my mother's grip. The handle was warm, smooth brown wood, silky from years of use. I held it in my hand and felt it. The only article I have touched that she used. It didn't occur to Edna to offer it to me, and I would not have asked for it. I said to myself, it belongs here. I have far more than a scraper. I have her. I have Mom right here, her blood and her spirit.
Mary didn't leave us any artifacts, but she did leave us her words. They belong here. We have her. We have Mary, her blood and her spirit. Cla Mary, there is no need for goodbye. Namasi, thank you for helping us broaden awareness about this amazing Koyukon Athabascan woman. Now it's your turn. Go home and write a poem about who you are and where you're from. Then read it aloud to yourself and savor your own story.
Give them a round of applause.
Met a hot dancer, den no nischen, not of yellow little hot it done.